Hey everybody, it's Michael at Gotcha Rocks, and today this is kind of a part two. I made a ring mold, so we mixed up some silicone and encased this ring and did some other stuff so we could actually shoot a wax into this and recreate it. So we have to get it out of here. So in this video I'm going to show you how to cut this, and there are a few little tricks that I'd like to share with you, and stick around, that's what we're doing. Here's what you're gonna need. One, you're gonna need your mold that you made right there. Got it. You're gonna need a Sharpie, permanent marker of some sort. You're also going to need a very sharp X-Acto knife. I'd almost recommend always putting on a new blade, but you know, if you want to conserve, be my guest. First thing we have to do is trim off this stuff, which when we pull it out of the mold frame, that's what we have. So we're going to cut this stuff off, and then I'll show you how to mark it. Step one, we need to get this junk off of here. So I'm going to just take my X-Acto knife around here and get this junk off of there. Nice long cuts. Okay, get it as clean as possible. And a little bit more there. Okay, all cleaned up. Step two is we need to cut this out. And I want to show you what we're going to be doing. We're going to run this X-Acto knife. This is one that I've previously done. We're going to cut along here, open this up. But one thing we're going to do, if you look at this sideways, see how there's little bumps there? Little pyramids. We're going to make those so that this fits together perfectly. There we go. And it won't slip around. If you just cut it, it has a tendency to slide around. So I'm going to show you how to do those. All right, here we go. Step one, or step two of this, is take your permanent marker, and I like to just run it approximately down the center all the way around. And this just gives me a guide, so when I'm cutting, I know where I need to cut, because I will tell you, with this clear stuff, it's easy to get off your line. So there we go, got a line. That's all we need to worry about right now. Next, place your mold like this. Now, some people start right here and start cutting. Other people start over here and start cutting. You know, see what works best for you. I'm going to start here, right at the sprue. And I'm going to go in, I'm going to cut down just a little bit. I'm in about 1/4 of an inch, and I'll go about halfway through, and I'll show you. See that? Just enough. I don't want to go all the way in. I mean, I could just jam this in there and start cutting, but I really want to just make sure that I'm about just that much. So think about 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to follow my line right down. I'm going to show you one other trick too. If you're having trouble figuring out how deep to go, just mark it on your blade. Do it on both sides. That way you have some sort of idea. Okay. Let it dry. Mine's probably going to rub right off. But we're going to do this all the way around. And see, actually I probably made that too long, so I'm going to do another one. Let's do two. Let's do one right here. Right there. So I suppose if you're doing a really big mold, you could use that first line that I made. Okay. Back at it. You need to find where you were. Just kind of flex it a little bit. And we're going to go to that first mark. Here we go. See, okay? I'm following my line. I'm going to turn it sideways so you can see. Following the line through, stand right on that mark that I made on the blade. Flex this a little bit, okay? Be careful not to hit your finger. And once again, I'm just going to pull it straight down. And one more side. There we go. And we just have to finish it up and go back to the sprue end. Be careful because it will want to just kind of jump out of there. There we go. Okay, now we have this cut all the way around, and now we need to make those little bumps. Okay, so that'll be the next step. So you'll notice that this is the previous one that I made. So when I put this on, it locks. So we want to make these little bumps that lock into this piece. So I don't normally mark this, but I'm going to mark it for you. We're going to kind of try to go for one here, one here, one here, and one here. Okay? So it kind of looks like one side of a dice. Now, one piece of equipment that you're going to need right over here. This is an old can opener, and I just put a hole in it and I screwed it to my wax bench. Then I took a pair of pliers and I bent this right here over so that it would really grab. And what I do with this is I go like this. I hook it like so. And this is really great because now this is kind of my third arm. And now I can get in here and I can actually start cutting. So I'm going to cut the first little pyramid, and I just gently, I'm cutting in as opposed to straight across. And I do one cut here, and then I do one cut going to, I guess it would be my left. All right, and then it gives me this little shape. You can see this sort of, hopefully. This little shape. So now we have one part of the pyramid. So if we need the other side, then I just cut in and like that. So now I have it. Here, I'm going to take it back up here so you can kind of really see with the light. So I just made that little thing there. So some people do squares. I do little triangles. Honestly, I've found that if you just have a decent bump that it can lock into, you're going to be just fine. So that's where we're going to start right now. And then we're going to go around to these other four corners and do it again. It's cut number 2. So I'm digging in, kind of going up. Make sure you don't go through the top of your mold. So pay attention there. Okay. And down. Okay. So there's one more. Here we go with the third. Cut to the right. Cut to the left. And get right up here at the top of this pyramid and almost kind of roll it around. Okay. There we go. Okay. And don't worry about it too much. We just need that little bump. Now you could also, I have all my pyramids going the same way. You could alternate if you wanted. I don't think it really matters that much. If you disagree, leave it in the comments. If you agree, leave it in the comments. Let me know what you think. All right, so here's the fourth one. And if by chance, just by chance, you accidentally cut through the top, I've either used just a little bit of super glue or even Scotch tape, believe it or not, and it worked pretty well. All right, so here we are. We have all 4 of our little pyramids cut. Okay, I kind of go like this. You can kind of see what's going on there. So now we need to cut out the rest. And I'm just going to kind of show you, while I have it like this, I'm just going to show you with my hand here. Pay attention to the blade. When I'm cutting this out, I'm not just going straight, I'm kind of doing this. I'm doing sort of this like S shape. Pretend you're a snake, kind of going along here. So with this one, if I was doing it, we're going like this. Okay. just like this little S. So that's the motion that I'll be cutting inside here. So just kind of pay attention to that, and what that does is it gives it a nice contour where it also makes sure that none of the surface is completely flat. And this will make sense why we're doing this when we actually shoot the wax into it. It will help prevent wax from going everywhere besides just this little spot here. All right, so we're going to go back to our can opener. And the nice thing is, once we've cut our little pyramid, we've got a little hole here that we can just really lock into. And we're just going to gently do this. Now pay attention. We're not going to go all the way to our ring, or we're going to try not to go all the way to our ring. Okay, so I've just gone in just a little bit, and you can see this shape there. So I'm going to go a little bit further in. This is very satisfying, I have to say. And so I'm just kind of, see my little snake pattern? That's all I'm doing. And I try to hit about the middle of the ring. Sometimes it changes if it's got a different pattern or something like that, but I find that it's working pretty well. All right, so I'm getting pretty close. So I'm going to go over to this section and do this now. So I'm changing sides. There we go. Over here, actually, I'm going to grab it right there. And I'm doing my little S shape. Getting very close. There we go. Made contact with the ring. La la, there we are. Hello. All right, so back here, that happens to you. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Eventually it will happen. So there we go. We can see some more of our ring. Here, change it up a little bit. Okay. There we go. And really use a very light touch with this, okay? Okay, so here's where we're at right now. I've done almost 3/4 of it. So we're going to do this last section, and then this is going to come apart. And then I'm going to show you one of the major tricks to make sure your waxes actually turn out. So let's finish this up. Okay, here we are. We've cut all the way around our ring. Look at that, it's still not opening up. Well, we didn't cut that center yet. So that comes next. So now we can really kind of crank on this and open it up. And I'll show you how to get the center cut so that it won't just be stuck in there. Try to get the wax out. So really grip it on here. Push the ring up or push the ring down, whichever it's doing the most. We just want to get right in here to the meat, sort of the middle of what the ring would be. So if I'm like this, really stretching it, and this one, do our little S, and we're trying to go right in the middle. And sometimes it's really hard to tell what the middle is, especially when everything's stretched out. So here we are again. Do your best, not a big deal. And if you need to flip it around, you could do that and check it out and see what's going on there. I think we're doing pretty good on this side, so we're just going to keep going. Yeah. Very gentle. Be very careful. Just don't apply a lot of pressure. And done. So here's what we've done. So I hit the middle here and then drifted off down to the other side. This is what this one looks like. Hopefully you can see that okay, and let's just take this off. So we have something that looks like this now. Sort of this kind of crazy mountain pass. So this almost acts as a part of our key, if you will, that'll make sure that this all goes together properly. So now, if I was to wiggle this back and forth, it's not going to slide off at all. Now, when we shoot this wax, which I will show you next, if we don't have air vents in this, what will happen is a lot of your wax will have bubbles in it. So that's what I'm going to show you how to cut vents for this right now, and then we'll go shoot the wax. All right, here's our other mold that we did earlier, or I had cut earlier. I just wanted to show you what I'm talking about. We need to cut these vent lines. So this is the inside. You cut vent lines so that as the wax is being shot in here, the air can escape somewhere. If you don't, you're going to end up with little air bubbles in your wax, and then you've got to do a lot of cleanup. So I'm going to show you how to do this. And sometimes this is something, you know, you'll cut air vents and then you think you're done, and then you're still getting air bubbles. Just pay attention to where they're forming, and then you cut another vent there. So, and I do this air vents on both sides of my mold. So here we go. Take one side. This being just a band, it's not going to be that bad as opposed to a ring that has a lot of different shapes. So what I do is I just kind of put some pressure, bend it like this, and pick a spot at the bottom of the ring, and I run this out to the side. Now make sure you don't cut through your mold. You're just doing a little bit. Okay, there's another one. And then we're going to do two over here. And if you have to add more later, don't worry about it. That's just part of the deal. So I did 3 on that one. Okay, just so all the air can get out. Okay, and I'll do a side here so you can see. I didn't cut very deep into these. Okay. Just a couple there. In fact, that one, get a little bit deeper. Okay, let's do the other side. Once again, bend it. Go. Just open that one up just a little bit more. Okay, so here we are. We've got all these opened up. Plenty of places for the air to go. So let's go over to the wax injector, and I'll show you how we make a model out of our mold here. All right, so this is the wax injector, and this is full of wax. It's heated up over here. We have it set at 160. It may be higher or lower than that. That's just what I've found works. And we have a pressure gauge here that I like to set at about 6 psi, and all this you kind of have to mess around with and figure out what's good for rings, what's good for bracelets, what's good for small pendants, and make sure that your pressure's right. So if you find that the mold's not filling out properly when you inject the wax, then increase the pressure maybe a little bit, or maybe turn up the wax a little bit if it's more of a pattern that is not turning out. So there is a little bit of an art and science to this. So right now we have no pressure. I have a compressor under here, right under here. And so I'm going to turn that on. And you can see the pressure's coming up. All right, so I just let that hold there. The first thing we want to do once you cut a new one of these, they're kind of sticky. So I use baby powder, talcum powder, and you want to just kind of put it in a piece of cheesecloth, and I just kind of have some baby powder in here, and just gently do this. And this will prevent your wax from sticking to the actual plastic here, or the silicone. Okay. How much should you add? Well, about that much. Just kind of put it on there and try it. The first wax that you shoot isn't probably going to be great. It's going to look like it's covered in powdered sugar or something like that. So here we go. I have metal plates, or you can use wooden ones as well. We have wooden plates as well. You just need to make sure that this is stabilized and you're not holding the rubber mold with your fingers where you're going to be compressing one part of it or another. So this just kind of distributes the pressure right there. So nice and firm. You got your pressure up here, and we're going to push in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's just kind of my count that I do. And we can see that some blue wax has been shot in there. Now we'll just wait a second and let this cool down. All right, so this has cooled down a little bit. We just waited a minute or so. I always just pay attention to the inside of the sprue, and if it looks like it's still kind of molten, wax, it's, is that the right word? Anyway, sure. If it looks like it's runny wax, don't open it up yet. Just wait till it solidifies a little bit. So let's open this. You just kind of pull one side. That went pretty well. And then you kind of flex this just a little bit, and you just kind of gently pop this out. So now, this is our first one. You can see some of the patterns on there. There's still a bunch of wax on it, so, baby powder. So let's shoot another one and see if we get a cleaner one. All right, so this is the first one. Here we go for the second. It should turn out better. Nice pressure, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it looks like it was running out of there, so looks good. So here we are. All right, so we'll give that a minute and then we'll pop it out. All right, here's the second wax. So we're gonna pull this open gently. That looks a lot better. Still a little bit warm. Give it a little stretch there. And, well, that looks a lot better. So there's some cleanup that will need to be done. I'll probably end up shooting a few of these just to see which one turns out the best. But this is just kind of a basic steps of cutting a ring or cutting a mold and then shooting the wax, and then these would be cast up later once you're happy with them. Okay, that's it. All right, guys, that's how I cut a mold. And if you haven't seen the video where I actually make the mold and mix up the compound and go through the vacuuming process, take a look at that. I will put a link up here, up there. If you haven't subscribed and you thought this was helpful, subscribe. I'm going to be putting more of this in. And hit that like button. That's it. So check out the site if you'd like. All right, take care, guys.